Hey guys, welcome aboard, and today we're doing something special. We're going to be doing a black hole approach into Libby, Montana, which is really in the middle of nowhere, but quite challenging. And it was a nice VFR night this day. We kind of had some smoke from the California fires that kind of migrated up our way, but the valley was just absolutely blacked out apart from the lights of the town. And it takes you from 9,500 feet at the start of the approach to the missed approach point, or I guess the MDA, which is 5,000 feet. You're supposed to descend to about 2,500 just visually. So it's a huge vertical drop, but really illustrative of what you have to be doing out in the mountainous areas and how you really can't be flying VFR at night in the mountains. So just looking at this approach plate, it sort of is reminiscent of a Rorschach's blot on the left and right side of the final approach course, and really just kind of forces you down a very narrow corridor to reach.
Now remember, there's no vertical guidance on this.
Yeah,
okay, so
Yep. So should I not have it on approach mode?
the only thing approach mode's going to give you is basically left-right guidance on the flight director. So the way you would do it if you were going to do it is basically just have the pitch bars, because that's going to be more relevant.
So you can see the lights in the distance, and as time progresses, you'll eventually have a flashing airport coming to view. It's sort of very faded, but it'll be in the top left of the windscreen.
Yes, right there. So
right, to get a descent, and I ran down 800.
So right now, what we're discussing is the means and methods to control our descent on this approach. Now you could do it either via vertical speed, or you could do it via the pitch bar wheel on the flight director. It's really your choice at the end of the day, but the point is you just need to be able to get down in a controlled manner and be comfortable with whichever interface you're using.
65's in. Now I can go vertical speed, follow these bars at whatever rate I'm looking for. Okay, still have a pretty stiff crosswind up here. 65 to Relxu.
yes, we're on a 9-mile final, basically.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to make a call. Libby traffic, Cirrus 224, Lima Whiskey, 9-mile final, runway 15, Libby. Okay, boost pumps on, extras richening.
So the biggest challenge when doing an approach like this is, getting spatial disorientation. And there were a couple times when, we were sort of, I guess I would call it sort of the Ray Charles School of Flying approach, bobbing and weaving left and right, and I think there was a little bit of STO that was going on at the time, just because
next step
there's no references, so you really got to be nailed to your
map.
Instrumentation as you're heading down this
5240.
You're on your step down right now.
Okay, 5240.
6500.
One thing which is extremely important, and it goes without saying, is you really need to nail those step-down fixes, and under no circumstances do you descend below the altitudes on the step-down fixes, just because you have no idea what's out in front of you. It could be a hill, even though you got line of sight to the airport.
Got
it's probably not, but it's just a really bad idea to descend below any of the step-down fixes by accident or otherwise. So much rather have anyone high on an approach than to descend below, step-down fix altitude.
0.4 to go.
And an approach like this, being a perfectionist, is really helpful. You really do not want to be left or right of the final approach course because, left will eventually take you into a mountain, and right will definitely take you into a mountain. So really keeping those needles, squared up, dead center is extremely helpful.
I'm going to get off this thing now and just go total visual.
Yeah, so 5240 is the MDA, but you still got to get down to the field elevation, which is way.
Okay, so right when you hit the minimum descent altitude, you have a massive descent rate that you have to affect. All the boards out, basically throttles all the way at idle, trying to get flat pitch from the propeller, just so you could be stabilized basically on short final.
It's 15 more. I guess we need it.
Another thing to keep in mind is, autokinesis, which is basically if you've been staring at an object with a dark background for a while, you'll have involuntary muscle movements of your eye, which will cause that image to shift in your field of view. So you'll have the notion that the object is moving, and you'll try to compensate for that. So just be really conscious that it's not real, and try not to fly the plane like it's actually happening.
We got 2,000 feet to go and just over 2 miles to do it.
You heard it right there. 2,000 feet to go and 2 miles to do it. So not your normal approach profile by any means.
This is amazing.
Feet to go.
2,000 feet and 2 miles. Did we cue these lights anytime recently?
I keyed them on final.
Okay.
So it's on the 50-man timer right now. 1,000 to go.
$500.
The male voice of Bitchin' Betty is just hysterical to me.
Alright, let's make sure your engine's still alive.
Especially when you've been at low power for so long, you want to blip the throttle a little bit just to make sure that it's actually responsive. Otherwise, you better start thinking about the glide and or a low altitude capsule into the trees.
I don't want to be
which has happened in the past.
Right, there's the red.
Notably in West Virginia, I think it was about 4 years ago, 450 Tango X-ray.
Alright, put us on deck.
Got it.
Let's get on the center line here. Cut power.
Oh, frick. Oh my god! I was just about to start my flare, thinking I had a few feet. That is crazy. Man. Well, I don't do a ton of night work.
It's a good example of one of those things for night illusions when you think you're higher than you actually are. And in this case, the arrival was pretty flat. There wasn't even time for a flare just because, he thought he was higher than he really was. So, hope you enjoyed it. I love Idaho, Montana, and hope to be back there soon.